VideoGen, we try to make it fast and easy for anyone to create videos. It's a very simple problem. Video creation is hard, and we try to make it easy. Our most popular workflow is script to video, where you start with a script or you just start with a prompt, and then we'll automate every single step of that process to take you from script to video in typically under a minute. So this was very surprising. We have some users that are visually impaired, actually. They want to create videos to produce content on social media, but they can't use a traditional video editor. Our goal is always creating the best experience for our customers. A little bit of a cliche answer, but our customers, they want better videos, faster videos, more videos.
Today's guest is Anton Koenig, CEO and co-founder of VideoGen, a YC-backed startup that is building an AI-powered platform for video creation. Let's dive in. Anton, can you tell me what you're building and what is that big problem that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, so at VideoGen, we try to make it fast and easy for anyone to create videos. It's a very simple problem. Video creation is hard, and we try to make it easy. So we use all the latest technology, AI, our applications on the browser. It's collaborative. So we make it easy for individuals as well as large teams to create videos across marketing, training, education, and a long list of other use cases. We've been doing that across small creators, small and medium-sized businesses, and even large enterprises who are creating at scale.
Yeah, there are several video generation tools in the market today. What makes VideoGen unique and different from the competition?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into every single platform. Video is a very complex medium, so you're dealing with 4 dimensions: time, space, and basically we automate the entire workflow end to end, and we have multiple workflows that cater to very specific use cases. So our most popular workflow is script to video, where you start with a script or you just start with a prompt, and then we'll automate every single step of that process to take you from script to video in typically under a minute. A lot of other like AI video editing platforms will have a lot of features, but they won't offer those end-to-end workflows like we do.
I see. So basically you explain the video in natural language, you have the script, and then VideoGen basically generates that video end to end. And I'm assuming you would need to do minimum like reruns. Is that right?
Yep. So this depends on the use case. Typically, if a user is doing something like creating like videos from blog posts or from like existing content, they won't need to do that many reruns because the script is very refined, and they're typically just trying to repurpose existing text content. So those types of users tend to create in bulk. They might be creating dozens of videos a week, and they will take the output, maybe add a few final touches to it, like their logo or slightly changing one asset here or there. But then we do have some users that basically use that video as like a first draft, and they might spend 2 hours afterwards actually fully editing it into like a client-ready promotional video, for example. So it really varies, and I think both use cases are valid. It just depends on kind of the budget of the project, how many videos you need to create, and how much time you have on your hands.
Yeah, I hear you. Interesting. So what are some of the most common, or let's put it this way, most interesting use cases that you've seen for the VideoGen?
So definitely marketing tends to be the most common. A lot of marketers, B2B and consumer marketers, are realizing that video is really important in today's day and age. People aren't reading text anymore. They're not even reading slide decks or blog posts. So companies are starting to post on YouTube, or they're starting to post on short form platforms as well. And they're typically doing a similar strategy that you might have done on blogs previously. So you're writing relevant content for your customers. You're talking about maybe recent news stories, or you're giving advice or sharing like knowledge. But now, instead of doing that as a blog, marketers are doing that as a video, and then they're posting it weekly or sometimes even daily to YouTube or TikTok or another platform.
Who surprised you the most as maybe one of the early power users? I know you mentioned marketers, but maybe there was kind of a surprising group of roles, whether it's
Yeah.
educators or maybe enterprise customers. Like, who was it?
So this was very surprising. We have some users that are visually impaired, actually, that they want to create videos to produce content on social media, but they can't use a traditional video editor because their screen reading software is unable to like interact with these complex timelines.
I see.
So with VideoGen, they can actually create videos with limited vision, or sometimes being fully blind. So that's something that we did not expect going into creating VideoGen,
Yeah.
but it's definitely lowering the barrier to entry for creation. And there's people that traditionally would not have been able to create videos that are now
Yeah.
creating a lot of videos.
That's very good to hear. Now, if we talk about the technology behind the product, can you describe the technology?
So the technology, again, it's going to depend on the specific workflow that you're using, which is one of the reasons why VideoGen is kind of unique to every user, because most users will find a workflow that they really like, and then they'll just keep using that one and might not interact with the others. But script to video, it's basically managing the entire video editing process behind the scenes. So it's going to go out and source stock footage. It can generate AI footage where it needs to. It will add captions and then animate those captions. It will generate text to speech, like realistic sounding voiceovers. It can generate avatars. So we're taking all of these like media production models, like avatar models, text to speech models, and we're combining it into a system that can orchestrate everything and essentially like direct your video end to end. So what we saw users doing basically before, like users that were previously trying to create like content in bulk but haven't used VideoGen, they're basically doing that themselves. They're going on 20 different platforms, generating individual pieces of content, like a text-to-speech voiceover or a video from like an AI video model. And then they take all of that and they have to edit it manually together into an editor. So we're taking all of those different platforms and then collapsing it into one interface, where we're going to make sure that you have the highest quality and the fastest model for every single use case. We're going to handle all of those retries where, if the quality isn't good, you can easily just regenerate it. So it's hard to point to like one very specific technology. It's really the combination of everything, which makes it powerful for our users.
In terms of some of the key features, any specific ones you would like to highlight?
Yeah. One of my favorite features is auto replace. It's a very simple feature. If you have a stock asset that the AI has picked for you, it's a stock video or a stock image, you just click auto replace, and then it goes and quickly finds another one for you that's relevant.
Oh, nice.
So this is one of our first features. When we started, like this was even before AI video generation, like the image models or video models were actually good. So the tedious time process that we were focused on was just having to switch between going on your video editor and then going to a stock media site and searching and then going back and forth and back and forth. And it's just it's one of those features that's a time saver. It's a small time saver. It's a small little convenience. But by having that button right there, you can just click it and then you can move on to the next editing task. So it speeds up your workflow. Similar to this auto replace feature, we have that for like generative AI media. So if I have an image, I can essentially prompt to edit that image. So, this technology is super new, but it's also very, very powerful. For example, if you have an image that contains some text and you want to translate that text to Spanish per se, I can just say, translate the text to Spanish. The AI is actually going to edit the pixels of the image and turn it into like with the same font and everything, and it's going to make sure the layout is correct. So this is one of those features that traditionally you have to string together a ton of models. You need to try it a ton of times, but in VideoGen you literally just click once, type okay, make it Spanish, and then everything's done for you. So translation is something that with enterprises or media companies that use VideoGen, it's one of the most time-consuming things of video production, because if they have a global audience, every single video might have to be in 10 or even 20 languages. That's kind of one of the biggest unlocks for some of our larger customers.
Now, switching gears into market traction, what are some of the key metrics that you pay close attention to, and how have those metrics evolved so far?
Yeah. So I can't get too specific with our metrics, but I mean, we generally look at revenue, monthly recurring revenue, like a typical SaaS company. And then we also look at retention, and we break down retention by certain features. So we try to see activation and repeated usage on workflows or features that are unique to VideoGen. For example, that auto replace feature is one feature where we've seen users that use it once kind of continue to use it. And typically with any feature, like the first time someone uses it, maybe there's a 50% chance they use it again, but then if they use it twice, then there's a higher chance that they'll keep using it. Mm-hmm. So every primary feature, we have a curve of okay, how retentive is this? How useful is it to our customers? We try to do that across all the key features. It's just move that curve up.
Does that metric also tell you what future potential features you guys would need to build for customers?
Definitely. Most of our features are, there's sort of one part of they're an appetizer to a whole suite of features. So, for example, going back to that auto replace feature, now that has expanded to have an easy way for you to edit the image in place, or for you to automatically regenerate a video. So all of these features where we find that our users tend to like those features where you can just click one button and then let the AI do some work for you, and then work on something else, and then go back. Just by seeing those metrics, that's informed a lot of our product roadmap.
I always love this question and love to hear the answer to this question. How did you guys land your first customer? What detailed steps you took to land that customer?
So our first customer, surprisingly, we got a few customers in our first week of launch. We launched almost 3 years ago now. So this was, I think, about 6 months after ChatGPT. AI was still a bit of a new thing in most people's minds, and AI video is definitely very new. So we spent 6 to 8 months actually working on the first version. I guess contrary to some other startups, just getting the video platform working and getting video in the web is very it's a very technically hard challenge. So we spent a lot of time getting it working reliably and making sure that it produces actually good results regularly. Mm-hmm. And then for launch, we basically went on a bunch of listing sites, these startup launch sites where you just say, hey, this is my startup. I would love for you to check it out. We didn't do Product Hunt, but we did some other launch sites similar to Product Hunt. I posted on Reddit. I think I responded to some people on Quora who were asking about video platforms. So we basically, in one day, my co-founder and I just sat down and grinded out a ton of different listings. And then pretty soon we got a few thousand users visiting the site, and a few customers decided to convert and pay.
Now, talking about the customers and expansion, how do you guys plan to put the product into the hands of millions of users going forward? What channels are you guys focused the most?
Yeah. One of our kind of new up and coming channels is definitely answer engine optimization. So you're trying to make pages that AI chatbots are going to cite. That's a new channel. It's very similar to SEO, but generally we try to target people when they're very high intent, when they're clearly interested in video creation. So they're either searching it on Google or they're asking a chatbot about it. And we just try to provide helpful content. So whether that's a video or a blog post, we're producing content that will hopefully get cited by these different platforms.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, in terms of challenges, what has been the biggest challenge so far for the company?
The biggest challenge, I think, definitely recruiting people is just a very hard challenge. That's one of those things that doesn't get easier with technology. Luckily, we've seen a lot of the challenges that we used to have, like trying to produce high quality videos. Those have gotten better as the AI models have gotten better. So we're able to create smarter agents, and we're able to generate higher quality media. But hiring people is always a challenge, especially as a seed stage company. We don't have kind of the resources to necessarily get the top people right away. So it takes a lot of convincing.
Yeah. Now, on that topic, what are some of the key characteristics that you look for in candidates?
I wish I had a simple answer for that. I think we're still figuring that out. I definitely think like curiosity is important. Honesty is very important. Like people that are not just honest to other people, but honest to themselves, like can admit when they're wrong, and are willing to kind of try new ideas. Definitely like autonomy is important. Given we're such a small team, we're only 6 people. Someone that we bring on has to be able to deal with like ambiguous scope.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the characteristics we look for. And sometimes you can tell that based on like their previous work experience, like if they've worked at a small company before and if they like that, then that's usually like a good sign for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, let me take you back. Can you talk about your background as well as your co-founder's background, education, prior roles, etc., and how did you guys come together to build VideoGen?
Sure. My co-founder and I, we actually are friends since middle school. So we were doubles partners together. We grew up in the East Coast in the Boston area. And at the time, we were kind of the only kids interested in web development. And I think just the internet and YouTube and multimedia creation in general. He was building web apps just for fun, launching a bunch of projects. And I was doing freelance web design and freelance video editing. So we did a few projects together, nothing like a startup, but we just launched some things for fun. And we knew that we wanted to work on something more serious when we got older. So I guess, fast forward to 2022. We were both studying computer science. He was at Brown, I was at UMass Amherst. And we both did kind of the big tech internships, got to see kind of engineering at scale and what that looks like, and got to work with some kind of very talented engineers. I think through that we realized that we wanted to create our own thing, that we didn't want to work for these massive companies. As cool of an experience it is, it's kind of, you can feel like a cog in the machine sometimes. So we set out to do our own thing. He had worked at some video editing companies before, and I had been doing kind of freelance video editing as a kid. So we knew a lot about video. And then it was actually right after the launch of ChatGPT. Uh, we were kind of working on something completely unrelated to VideoGen, which we never launched it, but we were using like BART, which was like Google's LLM before ChatGPT, which was not super good. But we were trying to we saw some potential, but we didn't really know what it was useful for. And then ChatGPT launched, or GPT-3, and we realized that we could use it to automate a lot of tedious aspects. So, the first one for us being sourcing stock footage, like searching for stock footage for you, finding the best one, and then clipping it in place. And that was kind of the original technical insight. I think, we tried so many ideas like before VideoGen, and we were trying to find something that we were knowledgeable on, something that we felt like was valuable, and then also we wanted to do something that was kind of fun and interesting. So I think like video, once we realized, okay, there's an opportunity to do something cool with video, we really stuck with it, and we spent like 6 months working on that first version.
Now, in terms of your like undergrad, are you guys both technical, and did you guys go to technical schools?
Yeah. So I was studying computer science. My co-founder was studying computer science and mathematics. So yeah, we were both, we've been coding for a long time. I think I've always been more of like a front-end developer. So I think I approach it from like kind of a designer's perspective. He's very much, has like systems thinking, very talented. And yeah, I think we have like a good dynamic.
Now, I know you guys went through YC school, and in that regards, two questions, I guess. One, what would be the advice for other founders to get into YC? I know it's very competitive. And then what was your biggest takeaway from that experience?
Yeah. It's hard to give kind of broad advice for getting in, because I know everyone's experience is pretty different. And also my impression before was quite different from after going in. Just kind of the diversity of like different types of people, different types of startups. Yeah, it's very case by case, right? Like some people are PhDs who, discovered something in research and now they want to spin it out into a company. Other people like ourselves are kind of new grads, or myself, I'm a college dropout now. And we're just kind of hacking things together, and we have an idea that we're passionate about. And then there are others who are kind of these like industry professionals. They have, a dozen years of experience under their belt. They have a team that they know they want to hire already, and they just need some funding. So yeah, if you're in my shoes, I think the best thing to do is probably to try to get some revenue as soon as possible, and building something that you not just is a cool, but something that you can prove people are willing to pay for, I think is very important. For us, that was the thing that we spent almost a year building the company before YC. So we had a lot of traction, we had a lot of revenue. And yeah, I think that comes from solving a problem that is really dire. So in our case, people, creating videos is super tedious. It takes hours, sometimes days, but it's also a super valuable task, because for marketers, sometimes video is what moves the needle for getting more leads. For training and education, video is like the end output that you need to create to a lot of schools now are moving online with COVID, and then after COVID, there's a lot of remnants of now these online curriculums. Yeah, they have to create content across like 20 different languages. It's a whole process. So yeah, I think identifying a problem that is real, and then proving that people are willing to pay for it, I think that's the most important.
Nice, makes sense. And then in terms of like the biggest takeaway from YC, what would that be for you?
Biggest takeaway. I think I think the biggest takeaway is that I don't know. There's just a lot of different, just a lot of different cool things out there. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
also like coming out of college, right? Like you just realize, oh wow, the world is much bigger than
hmm yeah,
college. So I think, yeah, taking away, seeing how different people can be so talented at very different things. I think is a big takeaway. Um, Seeing how like yeah, every field just has so much depth to it, and like a true expert in their field is like, uh, yeah, there's just like a whole world in every single little niche, and there's so many problems that can be solved if you're building startups or building technology. So I think it's exciting. Um, yeah, hopefully also inspiring to yeah, to people that want to create a startup.
now if I look into the future next 3 to 5 years, what is the vision for VideoGen? What is that North Star for the company?
Yeah, I think our goal is always creating the best experience for our customers. A little bit of a cliche answer, but our customers, they want better videos, faster videos, more videos. So we're going to continue delivering that, and we're going to deliver that more for our existing customers. And then also we're going to try to expand to new customers by creating more industry specific workflows. So that's always going to be like our North Star. But I guess broader than VideoGen itself. In the next like 5 years, we want to expand past just video.
hmm
A lot of the technology that we're developing, video is actually one of the hardest mediums to produce because you're dealing with this timeline and it's very like heavy. The files are very large. You have to serve it over the web. So all of the challenges that we're solving technically and all the user experience challenges, they translate to other forms like slideshow creation, even website creation, um, or just graphics creation. So we do want to build like a true creative platform where you can not just create videos, but you can create any type of medium, and essentially like turn your ideas into consumable content that is shareable to every single person. Like if I have an idea, if I want to express something, I should just be able to give it to an AI, and the AI is going to package that for every single type of person, in every single language, in every single content format. So there's a lot of exciting stuff. It's just kind of a matter of time until like the AI needs to become smarter and smarter for us to be able to build these technologies.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting mission. That being said, I know we went through the product, the company, the background, and future vision. As a final thought, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
I think the two things would be one that we're hiring. We are hiring designers, marketers, engineers. So, I mean, the roles will be probably still open by the time this podcast launches. So, yeah, check out our job board, videogen.io. And if you're a builder, we have an API. So a few customers already building on top of it, building like very like vertical specific video applications. You know, we have this platform, but it's almost impossible to serve like every single type of video and every single customer because there's so many different needs out there. So some of our customers with the API are building like for like a hyper specific use case, and they're solving like a problem that's more valuable than what we can solve.
Well,
Yeah.
Anton, thank you so much for coming to the show. I hope we will meet sometime soon again and you will have even bigger success stories to share.